Oh man, today we are going to be getting into some really deep stuff. I'm going to be sharing my birth story, and a crazy one it is. If I don't say so myself, or if I do say so myself, whatever the saying is. If you're new here, please hit the subscribe button. I'm going to be covering a lot of, new mommy videos, lifestyle, and I will be doing some like branding, social media, things like that sort as well. Okay, so let's just hop right into it. So my water broke on Wednesday, June 17th at 12 p.m. I was sleeping in and I just felt like a little trickle as I was laying down, and I was like, did I just pee on myself? I went to the bathroom and like more fluid came out of me, and it was not pee. And I was like, oh snap, I think my water just broke. So I texted my doula and I told her what happened, and she was like, that sounds like your water. Just sit tight, wait until the contractions get a lot closer, and let me know once they're like 5 minutes apart, and I'll start heading towards you. I'm like, okay, cool. So now leading up until this day, I was getting Braxton Hicks contractions literally from like 20 weeks. And I would get them a lot throughout the day, but for some reason, as it got closer to my due date, like they were super irregular. And then at the day my water broke, they were still like super irregular. Like I would get 1 or 2 contractions an hour, and then maybe nothing the next hour, and then I would get maybe 1 every 10 or 15 minutes, and then none again for like another hour. It was weird. So I kind of just went about my day as normal, make sure we prepared everything to go to the hospital, got everything ready. Now, your doctor will tell you that once your water breaks, you should go in right away. It doesn't have to be like the movies where you're scrambling like crazy, like, oh my God, where's the keys? Where's this? Where's that? And you're racing to the freaking hospital, running red lights and stuff. But you should be getting your stuff like together, and getting ready to go like ASAP. However, you don't actually have to. Now, the reason they say that is because once your water breaks, you're more prone to infection, and like if you're there, they can easily administer antibiotics for you, to fight the infection. But I really wanted to labor at home as long as possible because I wanted to prevent any unnecessary medical intervention. So I was like, you know what? I kind of had to like listen to my instincts at this point, and it was hard because I felt like guilty that I would get to the hospital and they'd be mad that I stayed home a little longer, or stuff like that. But I had to really just make the call based on what I really wanted for my birth experience and what felt right. And I felt safe. I didn't feel like anything was wrong. The baby was still making regular movements. So me and my husband just kind of chilled. We got everything ready. We went to grab dinner. We came back, and then I took a nap from like 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. because I'm like, okay, if this starts kicking in the middle of the night, I'm not gonna get no sleep. So let me sleep now while I can. So I did that. And sorry if I'm looking down, I have it like all written on my phone. I woke up, and as I was sleeping, my contractions, they always get stronger when I'm like laying down, which is normal, because as you're like relaxing and stuff, your brain releases, I think, oxytocin, if I'm not mistaken. It releases a hormone that's kind of like a relax, like pleasure hormone, and that can trigger contractions. So as I was laying down to sleep, my contractions were getting noticeably stronger, and they would wake me up each time. Then finally I woke up, I went to the bathroom, my mucus plug came out, a lot more liquid, and I was like, okay, yeah. Any doubt that I had before about this being my water was gone now, because like this was just like the real deal. Okay? So then I took a shower, and my doula came over, and she stayed for like 3-4 hours, and my contractions were like 10 minutes apart, and they were getting really strong, but then they kind of just tapered off and they just stopped for like a whole hour. And we were like, okay, this is weird. Like, why is my body doing this? It's not like being consistent. Everything was just kind of like a roller coaster, up and down, not cool. So we decided nothing's really happening right now. Let's get some rest and you know, maybe in the middle of the night they'll kick in. So she went home, she got some rest, I went to bed, and I went to bed at like 12:31. I slept kind of, and then at 5 a.m. the contractions hit like boom, really freaking hard. I could not sleep through them. I had to really like breathe through them. I was just like going through it. So I texted her. She comes over. My husband did not sleep that night for some reason. He wanted to drink an energy drink. And so he stayed up. He pulled an all-nighter, so then he went to sleep in the morning, and thank God I had her. And she came over. We went for a walk around, pretty much around the block. I did some like curb walking, where you walk with one foot on the curb, one foot off, high knees, like a lot of things to kind of keep the contractions going and like push the labor forward. And at this point I would say my contractions were about like 10 minutes apart still, and they were definitely like really strong. Like I was like I was actually breathing like this. Ooh, that's kind of like, that was like my breathing thing that helped me through my whole labor experience. So yeah, we went on a walk, we got some food, we came back, I did some, you know, just some of the poses and stretches and things like that that they recommend that you do as you're going through labor. On the birthing ball, I was bending over, I was, you know, sitting on the ball, doing circles, figure eights, all that stuff. She was giving me massages, and then my husband came up and was doing, you know, a lot of the counter pressure stuff, and it was really helping. Was making sure I was staying hydrated, and I was so glad that I hadn't gone to the hospital the day before, because I would have been in the hospital for that whole time, for that whole 24 hours, probably would have been drugged up, probably would have been pressured to be induced, you know, and just having been there so long, I probably would have been so exhausted of it and so fed up that I probably would have said yeah, and I don't think it really would have done my body any good. At the same time, you never know, but it just felt right for me at the moment. It was nice to be in the comfort of my own home, on my couch, on my bed, with my own blankets, being able to eat when I wanted. That was a huge thing, because especially because I was in labor for so long, being able to eat was so important, because once you go to the hospital, they really don't let you eat anything besides like clear liquids. And what's that really gonna do, you know? So all that morning I'm still laboring at home. My contractions are getting closer and closer, slowly but surely. Finally at like 2:33 p.m. I'm like, okay, my contractions I think were like 5 minutes apart, maybe even a little less, and like so strong that I was, and then I was just also was worried about like it being past 24 hours, my risk for infection. So I made the call, and I was like, let's go into the hospital, let's just go. We finally get there. As soon as we get there, you know, they put me in triage, they start to test me. So they do a cervical check, and I'm only 1 centimeter, 50% effaced. I could not believe it. Like, I could not believe it. My husband and my doula could not believe it either. My doula especially, like, she's a trained professional who's like worked with plenty of mothers, been at so many births, and even she thought that I'd be in, like, that I was in active labor from the way that my contractions were hitting. And they were hitting so hard to the point where it was pretty much like I was getting contractions of someone who was in active labor. I just wasn't, my cervix wasn't doing anything. So it was really, like, honestly really disappointing and discouraging at that point. I tried not to let it get to me, but it did. And then they moved me to a room, and I'm kind of just in there like laboring, you know, doing the same thing I was at home, just a lot less comfortable now. And my doula stayed for like an hour or two, and then she was like, okay, I'm gonna head out. You know, she has kids to take care of and stuff like that, and I was only at 1 centimeter, so it was gonna be a long time from now, we assumed. So she, you know, she dipped. She said, like, hit her up when I reach 7 centimeters and she'll be on her way back. And I mean, my husband kind of just rocked it out for the rest of the day. It was really annoying though, because like when you get to the hospital, there's people coming in like every 30 minutes. You're hooked up to wires. I had my finger on like the blood pressure, not blood pressure, that was my heart monitor, whatever it's called, heartbeat, heart rate thing. Then they had like the blood pressure thing on my arm that would go off every 15 minutes. I had the monitors on my belly to monitor my contractions and the baby's heartbeat, and they were like so tight on there, but they kept moving, so they kept on having to freaking like come and adjust them so often, and it was so annoying as I was contracting and like laboring. I just really wanted to like punch everyone in the face. Oh my goodness, it's just so uncomfortable. Like, I wish that you could just go through all that without all the extra monitors and like things like being attached to you. It would just be so much more pleasant, but whatever. Honestly, like that whole day and night was kind of a blur to me. I just was in so much pain. Like, I don't even think I was like fully there, like present in the moment. I was just breathing through it, still got no meds. And because my water had broke, they only check your cervix every 6 hours. So we checked in at 3. They checked me, and then they didn't check me again until like 9 p.m. right? So at 9 p.m. I'm thinking I gotta at least be like 3-4 centimeters, bro. Like, this is getting ridiculous. The contractions were consistently getting stronger, closer together. It was crazy. I was like, get this baby out of me. What the fudge? So they checked me, and I'm still 1 centimeter. Oh my God, I could not believe it. I almost cried right there. I honestly was like, what is going on? What is wrong with my body? You know, then you start questioning yourself. You're like, I did everything I was supposed to do. Why is this happening? And it just gets really, really discouraging. At that point, I was like, okay, I cannot. No, actually, once they checked me, I was like, okay, I'm gonna tough it out. I'm still gonna push through this, breathe through this. I'm only 1 centimeter. Let me not even try and opt for epidural right now. I'm so early on. You know, I feel like it'll slow things down. I don't want things to go any slower than they're already going. So I was like, okay, let me try. 30 minutes later, I'm like, nah, I cannot do this. I cannot do this. So I asked for options as far as like augmenting labor, which pretty much is, it's not the same as inducing. It's kind of like just different ways to help your body progress along. And then I wanted to get an analgesic, which is, it's a pain medication that lasts for like 2 hours or so, and it affects your whole body. It kind of just, excuse me, it I guess, I don't know, blocks your pain receptors or whatever. It's not like an epidural where it numbs you. It's not anesthesia. It's just like a general, well, actually it's a general anesthesia, I think. I don't know. Anyways, it pretty much just takes away the pain from your whole body and kind of just takes the edge off. You still felt the contractions, but it was like not nearly as bad. And I was able to breathe a little bit more, like rest a little bit more, kind of save my energy. So I got that, and I got a Cervidil, which is pretty much a cervical ripening agent. It was kind of like a long strip of paper in a sense with like medication on it, and they put it all the way up like a tampon up to your cervix, and it's supposed to last, I think, 10 hours or something like that. A long time, or maybe 12 hours, something like that. And it's supposed to ripen your cervix, which pretty much makes it softer, more gummy like, and will help it dilate and, if you know, efface and stuff and get you moving. So we do that at like 10 p.m. 12 p.m. comes, they check me, I'm still 1 centimeter. Annoying. Then at 1:30, the analgesic wore off, and the pain was just so bad, which is partially, I'm sure, because I actually took the pain medicine. So once you take the pain medicine, you get that little bit of relief and it goes away. The pain feels so much worse. But I was just like, honestly, F it. Give me the epidural. I can't do this anymore. Really didn't want to get the epidural because, for one, I didn't know how it was going to affect me. I didn't know if I was going to be so numb to the point where I was not going to be able to move my legs at all. And that can kind of complicate things when you're trying to push, because you can't feel the urge to push. You can't really feel your contractions. And I really wanted to know and like let my body do its thing. but the pain was just so unbearable. I had been in labor for what, 24, 36 hours about at that point, a little more. I was exhausted, yo. I hadn't slept, I barely ate. I was like, it was, oh my gosh, just thinking about it was so bad. So whatever, I got the epidural, finally got some relief. I was able to like lay down and breathe and like rest a little bit, which was nice. And then that was at like 1:30. Then at like 1:45 a.m., 2 a.m., they checked me again and I'm 4 centimeters. So this Cervidil was working fast. And then I guess like the epidural kind of helped me calm down and relax, which also helped my body progress a little bit. So that was nice. And then I'm like starting to feel like pumped up. I'm like, yeah, we're getting somewhere, it's lit. Then 3 a.m. comes, they check me again, I'm 7 centimeters. And I'm like, yes, it is go time. Call the doula. She heads here on her way. To be honest, from that point until the next morning is a complete blur. I do not remember anything. I have to actually ask my husband to refresh my memory because I don't know what went on from like 3 a.m. till 8 a.m. to like 7 a.m. ish. I really don't know. Like, I don't know if I was sleeping. I don't remember. I think the whole time I was just in so much pain. And I remember I had the peanut ball and I just kept on like kind of switching from side to side, trying to like close my eyes to get some rest, and the pain just being so bad. But I'm pretty sure that's what I did that whole time. I kind of just like was laying and trying to rest. And you know, when you have an epidural, they come in like every 30 minutes to change your position to help the baby move on down. And that's pretty much what I did. Was breathing through it. You know, my doula, my husband were helping me cope, doing the counter pressure, massaging me, just making sure I was good, making sure I was hydrated. And then 8 a.m. comes and they come in and check me and I'm complete. And they're like, okay, it's about time to push. And at that moment, the epidural was wearing off just enough. Like, it was a sweet spot where the pain wasn't so unbearable, but I could feel things. And I felt the urge to push, and I literally felt her coming down. Like, it was crazy. Such a crazy feeling. And like, I was getting so excited. I'm like, yes, like, let's get this show on the road. Let me start pushing. But they were doing like a shift swap at that time. So the night shift, you know, was switching over with the day shift. And so they made me wait an hour, which really kind of messed me up because that hour of waiting, I couldn't wait without the epidural. So I pressed the button to get a little bit more epidural. But for anyone who's had like an epidural before, you know that when you first press it, it hits its strongest, and then it kind of just slowly like wears off a little bit, and then you hit it again, you know, so on and so forth. So I finally closed my eyes. It's like 7 a.m. I had just hit the button. The epidural's hitting me strong. Excuse me. And then they come in and they're like, okay, the doctor says we need you to push right now. And I'm like, I'm not ready right now. Like, honestly, mentally, I'm not there. Physically, now I'm feeling nauseous. I'm feeling sick. Like, I genuinely am so burnt out that I don't have it in me to push right now. I don't feel like it's time to push. Like, everything was telling me not to, but they kind of, I don't want to say they forced me, but they definitely like pushed me to, you know, pushed me to push. And so I was just like, whatever, like, let me just try. So I start pushing. And I'm thinking that things are working because, like, you know, I feel her coming down a little bit. They're saying they see some progress and I'm getting excited. But for some reason, like, I don't know, I kept on thinking that with every push I would hear them say, I see a head. Yes, keep going. One more push. But, like, that wasn't happening. And I think it was really discouraging me. Like, really discouraging me to the point where every push, oh my God, it just felt, it was horrible. It felt like I was getting nowhere, but I was expending so much energy, going through so much pain, and just getting nowhere. It was really exhausting. You know, with every push, I was just more and more exhausted, more and more discouraged. At first, they had the mirror in front of me so I could kind of see my progress and maybe it would motivate me. But, like, seeing nothing kind of happen down there was really discouraging to me, so I had to move that away. I was trying to get into, like, this really good headspace that, you know, I kind of prepared myself to get into, but I I couldn't for some reason. Like, I don't know what it was. I just felt so insanely like discouraged, and negative thoughts were just coming through my mind, and I was just so tired and so over it. But I was pushing for, like, to save my life, man. I was pushing so hard. I pushed for 4 hours. 4 whole hours, from 8 to like 12:30. Like, it was crazy. Like, I felt her. It felt like she was about to come out. I don't know how far she was down, but it was crazy. The doctor was amazing. Like, towards the end of it, she came in and she was in there for a while, like really trying to do everything she could to get the baby to come out. She was like in there, like opening me up, like using baby shampoo to like lubricate it. My husband said that her hand was like this far in me. Oh my god. And he was so freaked out. But yo, she was like really doing everything she could to get the baby out. And then she said she could like feel the head, that it was right there, and like I felt it too, but like for some reason she was stuck. Like, we got to one point, like we were progressing, we got to one point and it just stopped there. She tried to turn the baby's head, because the baby was like face sideways, which is not ideal. Like, you want the baby to be like head down, so they don't get damaged, and it's just much smoother. So she tried to turn the baby's head with one of my contractions, which she said 99% of the time usually works, and the fact that it didn't work kind of raised concerns to her that maybe the baby was stuck somewhere, like in my pelvis, like maybe it was her shoulders were too wide or something of that sort, and that the baby was just not gonna make her way down. So at that point, I had been pushing for 4 hours, and she brought up the idea, and she said, you know, you've been pushing for so long, the baby's not making progress. You're doing everything you can, you're doing everything right, but it's just not getting anywhere. At this point, you know, you have an increased risk for infection, like very high. You have, you know, you're exhausted. If you keep pushing, it's just going to keep putting distress on the baby and you. And you know, all these risks and complications that came along with it. She said at this point she would highly suggest a cesarean section, and she, you know, she explained all the risks, all this stuff, and like at that point, like my heart just sunk. That was the last thing I wanted. The absolute last thing I wanted was to have a C-section. Like, for one, it's major surgery. Like, who just wants that, you know? Like, it's scary. They have to put me under anesthesia, which freaking, like, oh, just triggers my anxiety. My husband couldn't be in the room with me because of coronavirus, so that's even worse. I'd have to go through it all alone. What else? It's the recovery time is so much longer than a vaginal birth. You're in so much pain. And like, just the thought of not being able to be mobile or pick up my baby or feed her the way I naturally just want to because of the pain that I was in, just like, it just deterred me so much. I really did not want to have a C-section. Plus the scar, like everything about it, just, I don't know, I just didn't see that for myself. I really didn't. And at that point though, I had to kind of just swallow my pride and forget about what I wanted and do what was best for the baby, and really just the most important thing at that point was getting her out safely and smoothly. And at that point I just had to make the call, you know. So I said yes. Okay, then they went and they prepared, right? Now I didn't know it was gonna take like a whole hour for them to prepare. I'm sitting here in so much pain. I'm supposed to not push, but I have the urge to push. She's like right there in my vagina. Like, can you imagine if you have like poop like halfway out your body, but you have to keep it there? Like, that's the worst feeling ever. Oh my goodness. It was so bad. It was so bad. So I was like, okay, this is painful as heck. Give me more epidural. Like, they had the anesthesiologist come in and give me like even more pain meds, like morphine, I think he gave me. It was crazy. At at that point, I was just so over it. I was just like, get this baby out of me, whatever. I was scared as heck. You know, they start rolling me to the OR. It's cold, the lights are so bright, it's uncomfortable, like, oh my god, it was just horrible. They get me on the freaking surgery table. Oh, I just hate even thinking about it. They get me on the surgery table, they start, you know, prepping me. I have this like one guy behind me, I think he was an anesthesiologist if I'm not mistaken, yeah, and he was kind of like talking me through everything that they were doing, everything they were giving me. I felt like this weird like liquid in my brain, which was kind of like scary. I was like, oh. I literally thought I was gonna die. I'm not even exaggerating. There was multiple times when I was on that table when I thought that like I was gone, like, and I was trying to pray so hard to God, like, but I just couldn't get my thoughts together. They have this like sheet in front of you, and like with like little dots, and like I'm seeing like little shapes and stuff in it, like I'm trying to keep myself conscious, but it was so hard, and like you just feel so much pressure, and you feel them pulling at you, tugging at you, like, oh my goodness, I was trying so hard to stay calm. You hear your heartbeat on the monitor so loud. I'm like, oh my god, I don't even want to hear that right now. And then it was just so scary, like so scary. I tried to they had like a nurse have my phone FaceTime my husband, but like I just felt so out of it. I didn't want him to see me like that I was like, babe, I don't feel good right now, I don't want you to see this, I'll see you when I'm done. So we said I love you, and that was that. And then like kind of halfway through it, they pulled the baby out, and once I heard the baby cry, well, they pulled the baby out, and then I didn't hear her cry, and so I was like worried. Then I finally hear her cry, and like, oh my god, it was just like so heartwarming. It was the best moment ever. Like all that pain and just agony and stress and everything I went through made so much sense at that point. Like it just, oh, it was the biggest relief of my life. Oh my god, and I just started bawling out, crying. I was like, oh, my eyes burn. And I had the anesthesiologist wipe them. She's like fussing. Hold on. Hi, Mama. Okay, so at that point, like it was the best feeling ever. And then after that, I kind of was just like so relieved, and I was like so out of it, so drugged up, that I was like, oh, can I go to sleep? And they were like, sure. So I just closed my eyes, and I was still coherent, like I was still answering them back. It was really weird, but I just had to like close my eyes, and like it felt like I was sleeping, but I guess I wasn't, because I was still answering them back. So then they take the baby out, and they bring her to her dad to do some skin to skin while they finish. Actually, before that, they bring her to me and like put her face on my face, and like I just start kissing her, and it was just, oh, it was the best moment ever. Oh my god. I was so emotional at that point, but I was so drugged up. So then they took the baby out, they bring her to her dad to do some skin to skin while they finish sewing me up and stuff. And this was the worst part, because they were so rough, and like I felt it. And then at the end, like the very last 5 minutes, I actually started feeling the pain again. I guess all the pain meds kind of wore off, and it was rough. Like they were like just, I don't know what they were doing to me, but it hurt really bad. And I was like, ah. Okay, finally they bring me back to the room. I'm trying to like wake up, but I just couldn't. Like I was just like, this is me. I could not stay awake. I was not like coherent. It was crazy. Then I get in the room, and like I honestly don't really remember. It was all a fog. I just see everyone's like, congratulations, and I just felt like really relieved, but I was so out of it. I don't even know like when I really first saw the baby after that, like held her or anything. And then just so many doctors, so many people started coming in like every 20 minutes, talking to me, telling me so much information, and I'm just like struggling to keep my eyes open. And I'm like, why do they do this? I don't know if they do that to like force you to kind of like get back into it, or like they just don't care. I don't know. But that was weird. Didn't like it. I just wanted to be left alone. So they told me that before I went into the OR I had a fever, so they automatically thought that I had the infection that you get when your water has been ruptured for too long, and so they gave me antibiotics. I was so drugged up, bro, so drugged up. You know, then finally they come in, they help me breastfeed, and like that was a crazy experience. Like we both did really good. Like she latched on pretty well for the first time. Well, not right away, but, and it was like so rough with her, just like throwing her on my boob and stuff. I'm like, dang. But you know, they do this every day. For me, I'm like super paranoid and like super gentle with her. And she's waking up. And she just pooped. Yeah, so then we breastfed and kind of started to feel a little bit better, started to kind of come back to life, and my husband was just there, like he was really doing the thing, taking care of me and the baby like crazy. It was, I could not have done this without him, honestly, because just no, it was hands down the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. At the end of the day though, like what it really taught me was that you can plan and plan and plan, but with birth it's such an unexpected thing. You really have to be open to things the way that they go, because you just can't plan for it. Like your body is gonna do its own thing, your baby's gonna do its own thing, and the most important thing is getting your baby earthside safely, healthy, smoothly, you know. And it's unfortunate that my birth plan kind of took a total 360 from what I really, or 180 from what I really wanted it to be. But at the end of the day, I'm so glad that I just have my baby in my arms, healthy, safe, and you know, I would do it over and over again for her 1,000 times. This video is super long. I don't want to keep on like, you know, make it any longer. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I know some people really like hearing other people's birth stories. Mine was a little rough. I was in labor for about 50 hours, and I pushed for 4 hours. So my recovery, even though I didn't actually push her out my vagina, like my recovery was rough because it was exhausting from all the pushing and the laboring and the C-section. So now I'm about a week and 2 days postpartum, and I've just now lightened up off of my meds, and I'm starting to be more mobile and able to like pick her up from her bassinet and things like that. And it's been an insane week, let me tell you that much. But let me stop rambling before this gets too long. I hope you guys enjoyed my birth story. Let me know what yours was like in the comment section. I love hearing other people's birth stories. And that's all, folks.